My father wanted water to drink, and he told me to go bring water from the pump. I was pumping, so I turned my hand, and I saw a big black ball.
I looked over at the rocking chair, and it started to move. I'm looking at it, I'm like thinking, what's going on? So I put the sheets over my head, and I kind of peeked my head out from underneath, and it's moving even faster. At this point, it's just going back and forth, back and forth.
It's like very simple life. We play outside. We didn't care for anything, except we were poor. We had a river close to my house, so we went there to wash the clothes. Oh, my father was beside me all the time. He was a good man.
Folk tales. We see them in children's books and even in Disney movies. But sometimes if you dig down to the roots, you find these stories are not so innocent after all. Sometimes they're terrifying, especially when it seems they have come to life. Hi, I'm Lawrence Chow. Today on Ghostly Encounters, we'll meet Georgia and Ravi, and we'll hear their disturbing stories of supernatural creatures that seem to have sprung from the folk tales of their two ancient cultures. Georgia Triantafilu is from a small Greek village, a place where life is simple and everybody knows everybody else. So when Georgia's parents got married after World War II, another woman who wanted to marry her father was on hand, and Maritza, who had to settle for someone else, was jealous and angry.
My mom was nice too, but she was different type. Wasn't good relationship, but supposed to be better because of my father's family. Maritza was, she was married, I think she was old when she was married to my father's cousin, but she didn't have a good life, I think, because she was sick from cancer. Once my mom says to me that she wanted my father, and my father didn't like her, I don't know. It's his opinion. You can say, oh, you're supposed to get married with that lady. And I think she was jealous of my mom. Next to our house was his cousin. Her name is Sofia. They were friends, two close friends. She was bad woman, believe me. And she was looking. I think she was expecting something that day and that night. One night, my father wanted water to drink, and he told me to go to bring water from the pump. And that time, I went. I didn't think anything. I said to him, okay, I'll go for you. I was pumping and was between the pump and the place was one fence, and the hay was so high. So I turned my hand to that place, and I saw a big black ball. My father told me to go to bring water from the pump. I was pumping, so I turned my hand and I saw a big black ball. And when I look at him, at her, I don't know what it was, I saw a head comes out of the form. That moment was the worst for me. And two hands turning the head down and crawling out toward me. And that moment, I was freaked out. And I was screaming like a crazy. And I turned back again to go to my house. And my father came and says, "What happens? What happened?" I said to him, "I saw that thing. I don't know what it is." And I was shaking, and I couldn't sleep all night. I don't know. I'm thinking about that, and still I have that feeling. It was crawling. It was too close to me. That's why I was scared. It came out just like that. I don't know. Maybe it was bad for me. Maybe I was stronger. I don't know. From that time when I saw that, something has changed. I'm not the same. I'm scared, you know. I can stay by myself all the time. I was looking to see what was that, because they say it was my imagination. But it wasn't, because the hay was down, like somebody was sitting there. His cousin came out to see. And she did the cross. She was looking at me and she did the cross. She did it the opposite. The long part was the up. That means bad. It's not good. And you believe in devil, not in God. I believe she did all of this to harm me. I think she created what I can say, because she was praying that night. And Greeks believe somebody's dying for 40 days. His soul or his spirit is around to the place he was living. They cover the mirrors not to see the face of the dead. We go into church, we pray for them. We serve food for his soul or her soul, you know. They say the spirit comes out of it's not heaven. I don't know where they are. They come back to earth.
In Greek folklore, the dead wander the earth for 40 days before they're allowed to disappear into whatever afterlife they're going to. Less than 40 days before Georgia saw the black creature at the pump, Maritza had died. Was the nightmarish entity her ghost, summoned by Sophia to torment her rival's daughter? Georgia thinks it may have been.
Maybe she wants to harm my father or my mom, I don't know. But because Maritza wanted my father, and because he married to my mom, she didn't like him. I have strong feeling was her spirit. That's why I'm thinking, maybe. And because they were friends. When you want to harm somebody, it's not God's way. It changed me for the better. I'm not so afraid. But sometimes still it gets me. I don't know why, but now I don't care. That's why I'm here today, to tell the truth. I believe what I believe, but I went to find the truth about why I saw that thing. The life it's not only on earth, it's beyond.
Maritsa's ghost is like the female spirits controlled by the goddess Hecate. In Greek folklore, female ghosts are especially powerful and fearsome. Angry or envious spirits like Maritsa torment their victims, often leading to insanity and suicide. The dead are also assumed to have strong desires, much like Maritsa. The realm of dead souls then mirrors the society of the living. In Hindu culture, as in Greece, there are many stories of the dead roaming the earth. When Ravi Ladwa was a little boy, he learned the folklore of his ancestors, and he learned of the religious traditions attached to that folklore.
Yeah, my parents are pretty religious. Every Sunday, wake us up nice and early so we can go to the temple. They want to bring you up with some, wholesome Hindu values. We've always had little shrines or temples in our house. Typically they'd have a shrine in a separate room, but we didn't have a separate room when we were growing up, so it'd always be in my room. Even though when you're young, you want to sleep, it's kind of weird when your mom walks into your room and she's, praying for half an hour. It was comforting.
Ravi's mother taught him more than just prayer. She also passed on to him more folklore about those wandering dead, and he learned about the legendary dogs of night that herald those ghosts.
In Hindu culture, is when someone passes away, their soul or their spirit will roam the earth for 9 days. Animals are very sensitive. They can actually see these spirits. And my brother would tell me this, thinking that, I'm gonna scare Ravi and I can tell him this. And yeah, sure enough, it did work. I remember he came home one night, it was about 3:30 or whatever. And he runs into my room, he's like, Ravi, wake up. I'm like, what do you want? You gotta hear this. You hear what? He goes, the dogs. I'm like, no, I don't want to hear the dogs. He's like, just listen. It was the eeriest noise I've ever heard. I was brought up with my brother and sister, and they'd always try to scare me, this and that, right? So I was always easily spooked. I remember he came home one night, it was about 3:30 or whatever, and he runs into my room, he's like, Ravi, wake up. I'm like, what do you want? You gotta hear this. I'm like, you hear what? He goes, the dogs. I'm like, no, I don't want to hear the dogs. He's like, just listen. Next thing I know, I hear these dogs crying outside. I've never heard a dog cry before. It was the eeriest noise I've ever heard. It's not just one dog, it's like 8, 9, 10 dogs. I don't know how many dogs there were on the street. He goes, you hear the noise? I'm like, yeah, I hear the dogs. He's like, all right, good, have a good night. And he walked out of the room. I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night because I'm just laying there in bed just thinking, oh my God. All I can hear is these dogs crying and there's ghosts outside. What the hell's gonna happen next? It didn't really faze me the next day, right? It's just that at night, I'd always keep my ear open just in case, you might hear that odd dog bark or if they cry. Yeah, my sister's house. It's kind of interesting. I remember, whenever I'd sleep over, she would, always make my bed for me, which in this one room upstairs at the back of the house. And that room had, she had her own little version of a shrine. And my brother-in-law had his shrine too, because he's Buddhist. So we had a little Hindu shrine and a Buddhist shrine there. And whenever I'd fall asleep, I'd wake up again, and I couldn't move. It didn't feel like someone was grabbing my arms, it just felt like someone was pushing me down into the bed. My joints were all locked. I couldn't bend my arms, couldn't even bend my fingers. I couldn't even cry out or scream or shout, nothing. I knew I wasn't dreaming because my eyes were open. I could just only see the room around me, the ceiling, the walls, the door that was wide open, right, which I left open. It lasted for a couple minutes, and then, you know, I wake up in the morning, she's like, how'd you sleep? I'm like, I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. From time to time, I'd crash, and same thing would happen over and over again, right? I wouldn't be able to sleep. You know, I'd even tried sleeping in different rooms, but that one room, it was just like, we just could never sleep in that room. Just weird things would be happening. I pretty much stayed out of there. I didn't like going into that room. Every time I go into that room, you know, I get this eerie feeling. So, you know, if I have to get something from there, I'll grab it and I'll go. The one major thing that happened in that house was, I remember about 5 years ago, I remember we had that snowfall that shut down the city. I remember that day, because I had to sleep over at my sister's house. I was forced to. I thought long and hard about it while I waited to get on a bus. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'm going to have to suck it up and call my sister. I'm like, okay, I'm going to crash at your place. So I called her and she's like, yeah, no problem. And after dinner, she's like, so I'll make your bed for you upstairs. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I don't want to sleep upstairs. So she's like, all right, fine. I'll make your bed for you on the couch here. So I'm there laying on the sofa. And I still feel uneasy. So the light's on. And I remember the furnace stopped. And like the whole house shook. I completely woke me up, like, what the hell is that, right? And I realized, okay, it's like a 60-year-old, 70-year-old house, the furnace stopped. So I'm trying to get myself back to sleep, and for some reason, you know, I opened my eyes again, and I looked over at the rocking chair, and it started to move. So I'm there laying on the sofa, and I looked over at the rocking chair, and it started to move. I'm looking at it, I'm like thinking, what's going on? And then I realized, oh, there's a vent beside the rocking chair, so probably the heater. And then I realized, hold on, the furnace just turned off. Why is this rocking chair moving? And I looked over at the rocking chair again and it started moving faster. I'm looking there petrified. I'm praying to God. And I'm like thinking, please let this be a dream or something. Let me wake up. So I put the sheets over my head, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm gonna take a look again. It's probably not, you know, it's my imagination. It's probably because I'm freaked out about this house. And, you know, I kind of peeked my head out from underneath, and it's moving even faster. At this point, it's just going back and forth, back and forth. At that point, I was so scared I couldn't move. And I'm like thinking, I hope nothing comes out of that chair or nothing comes into the room, or I pray I don't hear any voices. And all of a sudden, it just stopped. Like, stopped on a dime, like someone was sitting on it and decided to get up. And I guess out of sheer terror, I just passed out. And then next thing I know, you know, I felt like this thing on my head, and I wake up, my nephew's like crawling all over me. So I get up, you know, I get ready to go to class. And my sister's like, how did you sleep? I'm like, it was okay. You know, it was a good sleep. It was better than sleeping upstairs. Obviously, there's some trauma that has happened in the house, and the spirit, you know, there's a spirit or something in there that just isn't at rest. But the thing is, you know, especially in Hindu culture, whenever you move into a house, you usually have a ceremony to cleanse the house, to bless the house. We call them a katha, where, you know, you invite the priest over and some family friends and relatives, and you sing some prayers and you cast all the evil spirits away. My sister thinks there's nothing wrong with the house. Personally, I know there's something wrong with the house, and I think she, you know, it's been like, she's been there for like, I don't know how many years now, but still from day one, she still hasn't got one done. It's been normal. You know, I just carry on with life. Can't really, you know, stop it from happening or let it ruin your whole entire life. Gotta move on. But I don't want to see another ghost. The feeling of being scared just to seeing that rocking chair was horrible. I never want to experience that feeling ever again.
Both Georgia and Ravi were well primed to accept the supernatural. So why were they so terrified? Probably because their ghosts were unpredictable. Ravi's sister refused to do the cleansing ritual, so in his eyes, her house is full of uncontrolled spiritual activity. Georgia was certain she saw ghosts that had evil intent. That challenged what she learned as a child about peaceful coexistence. For both, the ghosts didn't conform 100% to the pattern established by the folklore, and that makes them feel that we have an uneasy alliance with the spirit world.
Some of them, they believe me. Some of them, they don't. You know how it is in the small villages. The people see more things than in big cities. Maybe it's more close to nature.
Well, most big cities, you know, everyone, the world revolves around themselves, you know, they're always busy, the hustle and bustle of the city. You know, maybe if you open up your senses and, you know, more aware of your surroundings, they'll probably start noticing other things other than themselves, right?